This is the case of three best friends, Emma, Lila, and Brooke, whose summer trip to Clearwater Cove was supposed to be a weekend of sunshine and laughter, but ended in terror, mystery, and tragedy. What started as a peaceful beach getaway turned into one of the most chilling disappearances this small coastal town had ever seen. Within days, two friends were gone, and the third was left running from a killer who might still be out there. Stay tuned as we uncover how a perfect vacation turned into a nightmare, the hidden clues, the chilling evidence, and the man who vanished without a trace. If you love true crime stories and want to support the channel, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another case. Your support keeps these real-life mysteries alive and helps bring justice to the forgotten. Stay active, because what you're about to hear might make you think twice before your next trip to the beach. This is the story of why a trip to the beach turned into a nightmare for three young women. It was the first weekend of July, the kind of day that promised nothing but sunshine and salt air. Three best friends, Emma, Lila, and Brooke, packed their bags and set off for Clearwater Cove, a quiet stretch of coastline that locals called the Hidden Gem. They had just graduated from college and wanted to celebrate with one last carefree weekend before real life began. The drive was filled with music, laughter, and endless talk about the future. By the time they arrived, the sea shimmered like glass, and the sky was a perfect blue. They checked into a small, weathered motel a short walk from the beach. The place looked old but charming, with chipped paint and a handwritten sign that read asterisk, "Welcome to Paradise." Asterisk, the owner, an older man with a calm smile, handed them their key and told them to enjoy their stay. They unpacked quickly and rushed to the beach, eager to feel the sand between their toes. The day passed in a blur of sunlight, laughter, and waves. They took photos, built sandcastles, and even made friends with a few other visitors. Everything felt easy and safe. As the sun began to set, painting the horizon orange and pink, a faint sense of unease crept in. Brooke realized her car keys were missing. They searched through their towels and bags, but the keys were gone. It seemed minor at first, a simple mistake, and they decided to walk back before it got too dark. That night, as the wind rustled through the palm trees, strange noises echoed outside their room, slow footsteps, then tapping on the window. They dismissed it as the ocean breeze. None of them knew it was the first sign that something was terribly wrong. The next morning, the bright sunlight streamed through the thin curtains, but something felt off. Emma stirred first and noticed Lila's bed was empty. The blanket was neatly folded, her shoes still by the door, her phone resting on the nightstand. Only her beach jacket was missing. At first, they thought she had gone for a walk or maybe to grab coffee. An hour passed, then another. When she still hadn't returned, worry began to creep in. Emma and Brooke decided to search the beach, calling her name along the shoreline. The sand was scattered with footprints, but none led back toward the motel. They stopped at a small cafe near the pier, showing her photo to anyone who might have seen her. A fisherman claimed he saw a young woman matching her description around dawn, standing near the cliffs, talking to a tall man in a dark hoodie. He assumed they were together. No one else could confirm it. By midday, panic set in. Lila's phone went straight to voicemail, and her social media had no new updates. When Emma checked her messages, she found one from Lila, sent at 5:32 a.m. It ended abruptly after 4 words. "I think someone's." The police arrived that afternoon, combing the beach and the rocky cliffs. They found Lila's footprints leading toward the water, but none returning. Her belongings were untouched in the motel room, and there was no sign of a struggle. The tide rose quickly that evening, washing away what little evidence remained. As darkness fell over Clearwater Cove, Emma and Brooke sat in silence, realizing their friend hadn't simply wandered off, she had vanished without a trace. 3 days after Lila's disappearance, the search teams were still combing the coastline when a diver surfaced holding something in his hand, a torn piece of fabric caught on coral. It was Lila's beach jacket, waterlogged and faded but unmistakable. Inside one of its pockets was a single object that didn't belong to her, a brass motel key tag marked Cabin 7. The strange part was that Cabin 7 had been closed for months due to renovations. The discovery puzzled investigators, who decided to check the room despite the owner insisting no one had access. When officers forced the door open, they found signs of recent use. Dust had been disturbed, a mattress dragged across the floor, and empty food wrappers littered one corner. The curtains were drawn tightly, but when they were pulled back, a camera tripod stood by the window, aimed directly toward the girl's room across the courtyard. Inside the camera was a memory card, and what they found chilled everyone in the room. Dozens of photos showed Emma, Lila, and Brooke throughout their trip, sunbathing on the sand, eating at a cafe, even sleeping through the motel's thin curtains. Whoever had taken the pictures had been watching them since the moment they arrived. The motel owner, shaken and confused, told police the last person to rent Cabin 7 was a man using the name Daniel Cross. He had paid in cash, provided no ID, and disappeared a week before the girls came. But security footage revealed something even darker. 2 nights before Lila vanished, the same man had returned, slipping through the back entrance of the motel under the cover of darkness. The investigation into Lila's disappearance was still unfolding when tragedy struck again. Only a few days after giving another statement to the police, Emma vanished without a trace. She had left the small local police station around sunset, planning to return to the motel where she and Brooke were still staying under supervision. When she didn't come back that night, Brooke immediately reported her missing. Search teams were sent out before dawn, but no one could find any sign of her along the beach or in the nearby town. Her phone stopped sending signals near the same cliffs where Lila's trail had ended. Later that morning, a hiker discovered Emma's backpack lying on the edge of a narrow path leading toward the old lighthouse. Inside were her notebook, a half-empty water bottle, and a few handwritten pages filled with notes about the mysterious man who had stayed in Cabin 7. She had written that she'd seen someone watching their window again 2 nights earlier, a tall figure wearing a cap, standing just beyond the glow of the motel lights. One of the pages contained a rough drawing of a man's face with a jagged scar running along his cheek. Investigators scoured the lighthouse area for days, finding tire marks in the dirt that matched an old pickup truck seen parked near the motel the week before. But there were no footprints leading away, only those that ended abruptly near the cliff's edge. The community began to fear that the same person who had taken Lila was now hunting anyone who knew too much. With no body, no suspect, and no clear answers, Clearwater Cove slipped into quiet terror. Nearly a month passed after Emma's disappearance, and Clearwater Cove had changed from a sunny getaway to a place people avoided. Reporters swarmed the area, and tourists stayed away. Then, after weeks of silence, nature revealed what human effort could not. A violent coastal storm hit the town, sending waves crashing into the dunes and washing away layers of sand near the cliffs. When the weather cleared, a jogger noticed something strange sticking out from the ground, the corner of a faded blue cooler. Curious, he alerted the police, who quickly arrived at the scene. Inside the cooler were Emma's missing car keys, her necklace, and a motel receipt dated the night before she disappeared. It was the first real lead in weeks. As investigators searched the area more thoroughly, they made a horrifying discovery. The storm had exposed shallow graves beneath the dunes, their edges crumbling from the rain. Inside were the remains of both Lila and Emma, buried only a few feet apart. Forensic evidence confirmed they had died within hours of each other. The condition of the graves and the surrounding tire tracks suggested the killer had used a vehicle to transport their bodies. Whoever had done it had watched, waited, and struck when the girls were alone. Fingerprints lifted from the cooler and the key tag led police to a name: Evan Mercer, a 37-year-old former maintenance worker from the same motel where the girls had stayed. He had been fired months earlier after guests reported him entering rooms without permission. When authorities tried to locate him, they discovered he had vanished completely, leaving behind nothing but the shadow of his crimes. After the discovery of Lila and Emma's bodies, Clearwater Cove was never the same. The beach that once echoed with laughter now felt haunted by silence. Brooke, the only surviving friend, was placed under police protection as the manhunt for Evan Mercer intensified. Investigators spread his photo across every news outlet in the state. Tips flooded in, but none led anywhere. He seemed to have disappeared into thin air. Brooke moved constantly between safe houses, terrified to sleep near a window or step outside alone. The fear that he was still watching her never left her mind. Weeks later, a burned-out pickup truck was found deep in the woods, 50 miles from the coast. Inside were several melted cameras, a collection of old photos showing women at different beaches, and a map with circles drawn around multiple coastal towns. One of the circles was Clearwater Cove. The truck's license plate confirmed it belonged to Mercer, but there was no sign of his body. Some investigators believed he had set the truck on fire and escaped on foot. Others suspected he had taken his own life somewhere nearby. Years passed, but no remains were ever found. Every summer, new visitors arrived at Clearwater Cove, unaware of the horror buried beneath the sand. Locals still warn travelers not to walk alone near the cliffs after sunset, claiming they sometimes hear footsteps where the dunes meet the sea. Brooke eventually started a new life in another city, but the memory of that trip never faded. The unsolved mystery of Evan Mercer remains one of the darkest chapters in Clearwater Cove's history, a chilling reminder that monsters don't always hide in shadows. Sometimes, they live right next door.